This is William R. Mistily in Honolulu, Hawaii, and today I'm going to do a brief meditation on the 5 elements. Very briefly, in the hermetic tradition of Franz Bardon, you concentrate on sensations related to each of the elements. This is great for the psychology of the 4 elements because they constitute the human soul and personality and mind and spirit. And it's good because it allows you to align through your psyche, through your soul, your personality, to the biosphere of this magnificent planet. On Earth, we have this wonderful atmosphere. The astronauts who get into space, they notice right away how fragile and beautiful our atmosphere is. We have oxygen in the atmosphere, which usually requires life to produce. The atmosphere relates to the psychology and the sensations of the air element. We have this, we're in this Goldilocks zone in which there's liquid water on the surface of the Earth, and that is fairly unusual of all the exoplanets we perceive, the thousands of them, and that relates to the water element. It's where life took birth. We have a mantle, an outer crust of the Earth with an immense number of biodiverse ecosystems, and this in a very rich, flourishing, and fertile environment, which offers us food and shelter. That's the earth element. And we have fire, both in the sun with its light and heat, and we have an inner core of the outer core is molten magma. The inner core is more dense, heavier, molten. And it's the iron in that outer core moving with the tectonic plates that generates the magnetosphere, which protects the Earth from the solar radiation, which is hostile to life. So we have a magnetic field and the earth and fire element working together to protect the planet, and the 4 elements, earth, air, fire, and water, are part of the uniqueness of this planet, and a psychology which wants to be encompassing, universal, and cosmic in nature, probably would want to unite the individual in some way to the unique nature of this planet, which has produced intelligent life. So let's briefly, from the hermetic point of view, explore the psychology and the sensations and the spirituality of the 5 elements. There's a 5th element, too, that oversees the other 4. So let's begin with, I like to start with the water element because that's where I'm weakest. So, and I like to start with the feet because so much of the spiritual and cultural traditions take the energy in the body and they go up, up, up. You know, and it's nice to have a balance by bringing the energy down, at least to begin a meditation. So basically, just concentrate on your feet. Observe all you can, all the sensations, mentally construct the image in your mind of the bones, the muscles, the tendon of the feet. Notice the sensation of the feet against the floor if they're on the floor. Notice the weight, the density, the structure again of the feet. And if you can, sense the pulse of blood moving through the feet. You could actually reach down and try to feel a pulse as the blood moves through the feet. It's sufficient just to imagine the movement of blood, but in this case, since we want the water element, and blood is 85% water, we're just going to concentrate and imagine the blood is actual water. So we want a sensation of imagined or constant, you filter out everything else and just leave the sensation of water flowing through the feet. So just take a moment, see if you can imagine or sense that watery energy in the feet. And I usually start out with, just to remind myself to stay focused, I do usually do 5 or 10 breaths where I exclude everything else from my mind but that sensation of flowing water. So I don't want anything else to interrupt it. I just want to get into it. And I call this zoning, where you just focus your mind on the sensations and the feelings of what you're perceiving without any thoughts intervening, any interpretation or evaluating going on. So that's what we're doing. We're zoning, we're focusing on the feet. Focusing is an actual psychological technique that relates to this procedure also. And gradually, you don't have to start with the feet, but since we did, we can move the sensation, keep the sensation, flowing water in the feet, move it to the lower legs, the upper legs, the pelvis, the lower abdomen, the solar plexus, the lungs, the arms, the neck, and the head. So just take about a minute and slowly extend the watery sensation through the whole body. Again, you want that sensation of flowing water. You can work in other things like coldness later on, but this is all we want right now. The water sensation, if you just focus on water itself, for example, imagine you're in a lake or underwater and just feel what just perceive the sensation itself, and then try to come up with images or thoughts that describe it accurately in terms of your own experience right now. And what you can sometimes sense is that relatively water is cool, it's flowing, it's soothing, it's calming, it's relaxing, it's purifying, it's cleansing, it's renewing, healing. It brings things to life. It's extremely receptive. So it's always trying to fill in or make whole and complete whatever it's touching. It's the one thing in nature that's best at absorbing energy, storing it, and then releasing it. So water has a profound effect in the biosphere and also in terms of psychology, because it's so incredibly vivacious in the moment. It's adapting and changing itself to whatever circumstance it's in, and that receptivity makes whatever it's around feel more alive, whether physically or emotionally in terms of your soul. If you're with someone who's constantly responding just to you and to no other stimuli, that is incredibly invigorating, because it enhances your self-awareness and it makes you aware of what's going on inside yourself. So this is the water element. It's invaluable, it's rare, you barely find it in any tradition on earth, and yet it's probably the most essential missing component, the one thing that's most missing from human society and cultural spiritual evolution. So that's the water. When we go on to another element, you can, switching from one to another, you can dissolve what you just did, or you can, at some other point after you're all done, dissolve them. It just depends totally on you. You have to find out what works for you. When you talk about the 5 elements, some people, is a matter of fact, if you observe them, they should never work with certain elements. Some people will throw up. If I say concentrate on your feet, they cannot do it. It's against their own nature. The water element is threatening to them. Some schizophrenics, if you send them loving energy, they go into a state of anxiety and terror because they associate love with abuse. So you have to be careful how you use that water energy. Observe the way it works for you, the way it works for other people. I find it extremely soothing and relaxing, even though I'm in a hyped up state of mind to talk clearly. It's just, each element, each sensory perception as well, has a state of, you can find in it if you look. If you perceive it, if you're receptive to it, a sensation of pleasure, of bliss, of ecstasy, of rapture, and a feeling of oneness with that perception or element in nature. So within water, it's easy for me to connect to the magnetosphere of the earth, or to the oceans, or any aspect of water in nature, like Kanama Bay, which is 5 minutes away. I can feel I'm in that location, and that one vibration is all that exists within my consciousness. So that's a state of ecstasy, where you unite with something greater than yourself. The magnetosphere encompasses and penetrates everything on Earth. So if you make that part of your nervous system, you can feel what it feels, not in terms of the sensations of science, but in terms of the feelings of the soul, which is a oneness of all living beings. You feel that as an actual sensation, not as a morality or a doctrine or a metaphysical position. It's an actual experience that you can available to your perceptions. So if I were to dissolve the water element, I just imagine I'm in a big empty space, and from my body's like a hologram. There's no barrier between myself and the outer world, and anything inside me is just flowing off of that water. It's flowing off in all directions into the universe until I feel normal, balanced again. So in my own personality. So we're not going to do that right now. We'll do that a little later. So let's go on to the earth element. Again, we can start with the feet. The feet are connected to the earth, and again, it's observe whatever you can about the feet, the weight, the density. But in this case, we don't want the flowing quality of water. We want the feeling of the weight of the feet, the actual 2 or 3 pounds or whatever your feet weigh, and the feeling of connection to the earth. So in Aikido, for example, you concentrate on your weight going downward. And in Tai Chi Chuan, you have the sense of over years of doing the form that the great masters, no one can push them over. We have movies of 20 people trying to push one guy over. They cannot do it. We have movies of, weightlifters. They can't lift off a sensei a half an inch if he's sitting on the ground. He is so centered in his weight, it's going down. So similarly, we want a sense of the weight and density of the feet. Try to just focus on that sensation itself. Take about a minute. And the weight, the solidity, the density of the feet is the beings of the earth element. They embody this one element, the gnomes, according to the hermetic tradition, and they feel most a part of this physical world. And that's because they embody physical matter. They're attuned to it. And their spirituality is you take something physical and you enrich it. You make it more spiritual. You raise its vibration. You give consciousness to it. So that's, you take a stone, a diamond or something, you concentrate into it some sort of property you want it to possess, and it's receptive enough to hold that image and that vibration and that energy. So the same with gnomes. They're working on the physical world. It's a beautiful place to be. It's complete. You don't need to go somewhere else to be more spiritual. It's all right here. So if you want to be spiritual, you take the physical world you're in exactly as it exists, and you add something to it. You uplift it. You add creativity and talents, skills to it. So the gnome personality, or the earth element as psychology, has within it this sense of being grounded, solid, down to earth, of course. It's the sense of being thorough, focused on details, practical. It's not off there in its head. It's not being over-empathic to what's going on around it. It's not trying to conquer or dominate the world like the fire element. It's right here in this moment, and it does what Warren Buffett expresses as best. You want to find something you love with all your heart, and then work on it the rest of your life. If you're doing what you love and you're surrounded by people you love, it doesn't get any better than that, according to Warren Buffett, one of the richest people on earth. So he's found what he loves, and that's what he does. The earth element has the spiritual quality that you always feel close to the things you care about most. When you are focused on what you're doing right here in this moment as a form of work, you are transforming yourself, you're transforming the world, and that's what's in your heart. It's not way out there. It's not one day I will be someplace more elevated. It's right now I am within my heart and I'm doing what I care about. That's the power of gnomes. They're very grounded, solid, practical, and they don't need to get spacey. The initiation of the earth element, we could say, is you go out into nature and you spend a month or a week or however long it takes. You get a sense of geological time. You're outside society with all its insecurities and demands and comparisons and influencers, and you're part of nature. You get that sense of timelessness. And then you somehow hold that and capture it, embody it, and bring it back with you into society so that when what you're doing now with your life on a daily basis carries with it this dual or multi-dimensional awareness that you're also part of the nature of the planet Earth. That Earth type initiation. So we've done the water with its great empathy and flowing and sensitivity and healing. We've done the earth with its very dense feeling of being solid, grounded, stable, enduring. And now I want you to take a moment. Imagine you're out there among the stars or wherever you want. You're in the middle of a football stadium. No one's there, whatever. There's a vast empty space around you. You're on a plain, between mountain ranges. And you imagine all this watery and earth energy is streaming out from your body without any obstructions in all directions. It goes to the right, goes to the left, goes in front of you, goes behind you, goes above you, goes down. You do that one by one in each direction. You do them all at the same time. And then you just imagine your empty space itself. There's no concentration of energy left over since you're treating your body like a hologram. It doesn't have any solid boundaries. It's called formless awareness. In formless awareness, there's nothing to get attached to, nothing to get stuck. It just is open energy, moves through it, but the energy is unobstructed. I usually take 5 minutes to do that, but then again, I'm doing half-hour meditations on one element. So let's go on to another element. The opposite of earth is the air element. So the sensation of the air element, which we want to concentrate on and become familiar with, is, relatively speaking, it's a sensation of being weightless. This is what Franz Bardon would like to insist belongs to the air element and to the beings of the air sylphs. And also, as air is very harmonious. It's not that empathy of what's flowing through you is flowing through me, we share one life. This is more a balancing of opposites. What does the atmosphere do? There's hot and cold, there's wet and dry, there's calm and turbulent, there's electric and magnetic fields, there's opaque, cloudy, and there's open, clear, shiny, like light. So the air element takes all these things and is constantly balancing them while itself remaining detached and very independent in itself, very harmonious in itself. So there's some quick ways to get a sense of the air element. Again, you imagine your body is like a hologram, and we can begin with focusing on our breathing, but we aren't doing pranayama. This is uniting with air. It's not trying to track, or enhance the flow of the chi or the vitality through the body. So, but that's the side effect. So just imagine, or concentrate on your inhale and exhale and exactly how your chest changes, your breathing affects your physical body as you do that. You breathe at your own rate. Let's take about 30 seconds. And depending on how you're breathing, you may be breathing through your chest, more through your abdomen, opening your abdomen and contracting. The muscles are opening the chest by contracting downward, releasing. The diaphragm releases upward as you relax. The air flows out and in. You can sense that physical aspect of the sensations of breathing. And then you can, again, imagining the body's like a hologram. There's nothing solid, just an outline. Let's take a few seconds and just focus on breathing as if the air coming in is going through the whole body. As the body's an open vessel, and we're breathing in and out of the whole body. And then a way to enhance the feeling of weightlessness, which this may help some people, you visualize your body as being a hologram, empty, in the shape of what your physical body. And you imagine you're sitting across the room, if you're in a room, and you're looking at yourself over there, sitting in a chair, if you're sitting in a chair, and it's just a hologram. Air is moving in and out. Air is only what's inside the hologram. And then like a balloon, imagine the body just lifts, since it's weightless, just air, imagine like a balloon, it lifts up half an inch or an inch. So you're looking at your body across the room and an exact image of yourself, and you are there, the body over there is floating. And if it's floating, it's weightless. It's the same weight as the air. Just get a visual sense of that. And then go back and forth between the two. You're sitting in where you are with your physical body. You feel the weight. And then you see yourself and you imagine you are that other body, that one that's like a balloon. And it takes time and practice, but you get it after a while. And you can extend this further. Just imagine you're 1,000 feet or 30,000 feet up in the sky, and you're just surrounded by blue sky. The clouds are way down there, otherwise there aren't any clouds. This light blue light is all around you, and there's no gravity. You're just floating. A good study of the psychology of the air element is seen in what Franz Bardon calls the cosmic letter A. He's got other ones, L and C and Z. But the A is more easy to access for some people. Physically, the letter A in terms of the physical world is this awareness of the atmosphere. You're up there in the blue sky. You take in the clouds, the whirlwinds, the hurricanes, the north and south winds, the jet stream, the summer breeze, the movement of air in and offshore, depending on the time of day. You sense the moisture and the heat and the rolling clouds, the lows and the highs. And you take in the electrical storms, the lightning, the rapid updrafts, the downdrafts. And you can sense all that while yourself being balanced, harmonious, and independent. Your air element, because it's so vast and expansive, it extends your nervous system becomes the atmosphere to some extent, and you're aware of everything going on around you. You're hypersensitive. You're aware of things at a great distance, but without it affecting you individually. And that's for the air element, for the air beings, that's a sense of harmony. They love harmony. They're crazy about it. So that's the physical awareness of the atmosphere. On an emotional level, an astral soul level, that same vibration of the air element becomes, in the cosmic letter A, it's referred to as artistic sensitivity. What does Thornton Wilder do in his play Our Town? Or Charles Dickens do in A Christmas Carol? They're sitting there looking at life with a great detachment, and yet with an enhanced sensitivity to every nuance of conflict and calm, of emotional life, of character, of personality, going on around them. The drama of life is something they're fascinated by, just as the air spirit's fascinated by weather. The astral artist is sensitive to the emotional life and the drama of human life in Shakespeare. Shakespeare can walk down the street, every human being he could write a play about. But he didn't. He had to write about kings, queens, and princes to make money, But nonetheless, he had that artistic sense of the thrill, of the wonder going on in each moment of time. So the astral level there is this heightened artistic awareness and profound appreciation of the majestic majesty of the unknown universe that is revealing itself to us in a new way. You can look at it like, I already know everything, I'm bored. That's not the air element. That's a dead air element. You want the liveness. One of the great sylphs of the air, Kargosti says, because his awareness encompasses the entire biosphere, the atmosphere. He says the universe is on the verge of exploding because of the joy it contains. See, that's the air element. It's outrageously cheerful. If you meet some people who are incarnated, they have the soul of the one vibration of air. They're a sylph, but they were born as in a human body. They frequently are outrageously cheerful. There's just no explanation for how they can be so upbeat. It's not optimism. They're sometimes terribly practical, but they're cheerful. They have this uplifting quality to them. And that's one of the wonders of the air element. The ecstasy is the air element. You feel united to the atmosphere. The rapture of the air element. You have this sense, like the cosmic letter A. You take it up to a mental level. It's the mind of Buddha. It's very open and clear. You're the clear sky. Clouds and storms can appear. Sky it's not as unaffected. That's Buddha. He's got a mind which is unaffected by the suffering and the contingencies of life, the highs and the lows. There's no manic depressive about Buddha. And if you take it up to an Akashic level, a more spiritual level, with that air vibration, it becomes a sense of cosmic wisdom, a stillness that embraces the universe, the unfolding of evolution, the movement of time. This is Nostradamus sitting there with his little bowl of silver with water inside. He's putting his hand over it, and he's seeing the unfolding of human society and history from a great state of stillness. And he can enumerate in detail what's going to happen. And other people say, "Ooh, fear, 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 terror." But that's not his mind. Nostradamus is in this state of rapture, of clarity. And he's sensitive nonetheless to the forces, the nuances of cause and effect as they manifest in history. Something magnificent. That's the ecstatic, the rapturous aspect of the air element. It's also very telepathic and so forth. So that we did the water, we did the earth, we just did the air, and without pause we can just move into the fire. And there are a lot of ways to do the fire element. I have another. Salamanders are fire spirits. They're crazy. Like fire. Fire is always aware, do I have the fuel I need to keep burning? I emit light. That's the fire element. I see things more clearly than others. That's the fire element. I know how to take charge. Everything is a challenge for me. I want things done now, right now. That's fire element. It's got the energy to put that out there and to try to do it. Incarnated fire elements are very dangerous. They're very rare, and that's because they are limited. They have to always be under another human being's authority because they're so deadly to human history. They'll just really screw things up if their will is unleashed. Oppenheimer, who was the central point of creating the first atomic bomb, he was under the authority of General Leslie Groves and the president. So he was operating with a specific commission, and yet what's he do? He creates the first atomic bomb, and he sits there and says, "I become Shiva, the destroyer of worlds." He's get that emotional elation, but it's very destructive. He didn't say, fusion, cheap, free electricity for the whole planet. He didn't do that. Teller didn't do that. The next guy did the hydrogen bomb. They didn't put the money into that. They wanted the weaponry. Typical. Power in its low-grade manifestation. So we have Nobel with his dynamite. We have Edison helping to create the electrical grid. We have Tesla with the original Tesla, creating the alternating current engine. He saw it as a vision for 10, 20 years, and he finally figured out how to make it. And Edison said, no, it's impossible. And Tesla said, I'm going to do it anyway. And he did. So these great masters of electrical systems, Henry Ford, the Wright brothers actually came up with the best alternating current engine at their time, and then the car people, Ford and others, got in there, and pretty soon you have tanks and jet airplanes and voila. So the planet right now is dominated by the fire and electrical element. We have a planetary electrical grid, and I won't get into the negative side of that, but anyway, fire enhances your power. Get in the car, turn the key, the ignition fires, the car starts, you can drive a few hundred miles. Same with an airplane, you can fly halfway around the planet. It gives you turn on the TV or computer. It gives you this immense expansion of sensory physical experience. But it's part of the other elements as well, so you want to find eventually a balance between them. So with fire, which enhances willpower, your sense of integration, your focus on attaining your goals, in the hermetic tradition of Bardon, it comes down to this one sensation of heat. Heat is, of course, fire needs fuel, but the sensation itself is heat. And you want that sense of and you don't have to go searching for a volcano, or you could, but you can start with your body. So let's just try that. Just imagine, focus on your body temperature, 98.4 or whatever yours is, and all through your body. Notice that usually where you are, the temperature of your body is 5, 10, 20 degrees hotter than the surrounding air. So unless you're out there in Sarah or Phoenix, Arizona, or wherever. So just take about 30 seconds. Try to sense the heat of the oxygen-carbon metabolism which is running your body. And as with each of the other elements, the trick is focus on just that one sensation, exclude everything else from your mind and emotions. And again, we're kind of zoning. You're just giving your full attention to something without thoughts or anything else intervening. So if you focus just on that 5, 10, 20 degree heat differential, and you focus just on the heat, it might as well be 1,000,000 degrees. That's all that exists in your consciousness. There's nothing to compare it to. So if you get the sensation of the hot, the expansion energy, the burning intensity, you can expand it to whatever degree you want. And there are the physical sensations. There's also the psychological, mental, and spiritual qualities that go with it, which is you may notice in some people, especially your really well-adapted, powerful alpha males. They exude heat. They have this fiery energy. Bardon says if you practice with the fire element, you end up emitting light, sometimes for miles around your body. Not physical light, although he thinks that's possible, but a kind of astral or etheric light. You illuminate things. Your presence is some of these actors, they step on stage and they have this stage presence, just being there. They don't have to act. They just appear, and they've got this, incredibly light-filled charisma they're emitting. Or your CEO, he steps into the boardroom and he has command of everybody. He sees power itself as it's existing in each person. He sees each person's will, and he knows how to inspire them, motivate them, take control of them. That's the fire element. You take control. If you're a general and you need to defeat the enemy, you need to be able to motivate your soldiers, put a part of your will inside of them. What does Tony Robbins do when he's got 5,000 people in a room, an auditorium for 3 days? He's so charged up. He's got his flaws, of course. But he's so charged up, he's actually imprinting part of his personality and energy on that audience. So they can now do things they could not do before, not because just of his words or his ideas or his applications. He's actually pushed part of his soul into them. That's the fire element. It emits energy in a massive way. It's extremely negative, though, because you get the downside of fire. It's hazing, manipulative, domineering, controlling. It's divisive. It destroys others. It acts like a vampire. It just takes whatever it needs. I'm unhappy. I want your energy. Now I feel happy. You can see that over and over in your more negative alpha males. So fire, in a more spiritual, in a mental level, it's the ability to plan. You can foresee what you want to accomplish. You can see the stages of getting there. It's a visual thing. It's not I feel or I want or I'm thinking. It's boom, here's what we're going to do. You guys figure out how to do it. You're all my cabinet, my generals, my people working through me, my political party. Get this done. This is my agenda. That's the fire element. And the mental level, plan A, plan B. On the spiritual level, it's more a sense of these things must be accomplished. You eliminate corruption in government on earth. That's the order of divine providence. Not many people hear that, but that's the order. It's sitting there. It's weighing upon all human beings on earth. Here's something you need to do. Do it. You figure out how to do it. If I do it for you, you'll learn nothing. It's for you to accomplish. And yet, here's the inspiration. It's possible. I have the will to do it. I visualize it. I know it will happen. Now make it happen. That's very fiery. So, thus I reviewed briefly the absolute importance of getting the physical sensation. If you try to do higher magic and contact spirits and you don't have these basic energies, they sit there, how am I going to work with you? You can't feel, you can't think clearly, you don't have your own will, you're not committed to working every day in the way that's needed. What good is a spirit to you if you're St. Columba and you want to reveal the Gospel of John to the world because you have the only free copy and you're in the 4th century or 6th century, whichever it was, and you contact the Archangel Michael and you're yourself royalty, an possible heir to the throne, and you say to Michael, I need to defeat the king's army. Wham! You've got the etheric elements in your soul. And so the angel can appear and the king's army is defeated, and you lose not one soldier on your own side. See, that's using a spirit in the correct way. You're able to manifest a higher consciousness through yourself or next to yourself because you already embody the energies it needs to get the job done. Why isn't everything free? Why isn't the spiritual world meet all my needs? Because that's what you do for babies. You got to take care of them and cuddle them and nurture them on and on and on for years, change their diaper. At some point you want them to grow up and become independent, self-determining beings. And same with people who are trying to grow in a spiritual path. You want to become independent and self-determining. You don't want to say, I need you, help me, I'm lost. Sometimes that works, but as it works for babies. But, you want to be grown up, you want to pay your own dues, you want to participate on an equal footing with the spiritual beings, and these spiritual beings of the earth zone, 360 of them, for example, they've all mastered the 4 elements on the mental, astral, and physical plane. They don't need physical bodies. You're here, you want to kind of balance your mastery of the 4 elements on all 4 planes. The 5th element's a little more complex, but basically you'll notice in Franz Bardon, in his initiation into hermetics in the 3rd chapter, that he has you breathing in each element and condensing it at once eventually, and then breathing it out again. So you're through force of imagination, you're literally using air as a medium, you're creating fire out of nothing, condensing it, and then emitting it so it returns to nothing. And you're doing that with water, air, and earth as well. So this is exactly what Akasha does. In chapter 6, you have to wait later in the book for him to actually say, here's the exercise for the 5th element of Akasha. But he's already got you doing it in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd chapters. You're learning how to look at the element, supervise it, inspire it, refine it, condense it, attach a purpose to it, and then when the purpose is fulfilled, you dissolve it again. That's Akasha. It sits there and oversees things. It oversees the transitions, the transformations, oversees the beginnings and the final ends. It's something wonderful. We're going to save that for another time. So this wraps up my basic presentation of the four elements, how to work with them. I suggest you only work with one at a time. Don't do what I just did, all four at once, although you can try it. And always dissolve what you have afterwards. I haven't done that for these last two, but you can do that when I'm done here. This will also, hopefully, I'll upload it to my YouTube site. I think my YouTube site is under my profile here on Facebook. And good luck with all this. Thank you for your time and attention.